everyone, and thank you all so much for tuning in to the first class of our new Serving Up Summer series. My name is Emily, and I am one of your Stop and Shop Nutrition Partners registered dietitians. And as a part of our new Serving Up Summer series, each month throughout the next few months of the summer, our dietitians will be coming to you live from our kitchens to share a few fun, seasonal, and better for you spins on some summer favorites. Now, just a few housekeeping notes for our cooking demo today. If you have any questions as we go throughout, please feel free to drop those into the chat box, and I'm happy to address those at the end. Now, today, our cooking demonstration will only be about 15 minutes long. So with that being said, it is more of a cooking demonstration. So I will be demonstrating 2 simple, easy, and delicious recipes, showing just a few of the steps of each recipe. So if you are curious to get the full details regarding ingredient amounts and the full recipe steps and instructions, we will be sure to email out all of that information to you all following the class today. So definitely be on the lookout in your email inboxes for that information, so you certainly can make these recipes at home yourself afterwards. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our demo for today. And the theme of today's class is Newstalgia. Now, for anyone that hasn't heard of that term before, it is a bit of a new word that we're seeing pop up here and there. And Newstalgia essentially is a spin off of nostalgia. So it's taking a bit of a new spin or a new approach on some classic or traditional favorites. And as we're coming into these warm weathered months here in the summer, I'm sure many of us can think right off the top of our heads what some of those nostalgic favorites are. So I know, just speaking for myself, options like hot dogs and hamburgers and coleslaw and all of the different salads like macaroni salad, potato salad, and pasta salad are some of those nostalgic eats that come to mind when I think of summer barbecues or outdoor picnics. So with that in mind, today we're going to take a bit of a nostalgic spin on some of those all-time favorites and add in some new ingredients or do a few better for you spins. And I'm sure many of us can think of what some of those traditional, classic, nostalgic favorites are at summertime in our own households. And so I would encourage you to take some of those favorites and try and think about some new and healthier spins you could take to make your own nostalgic recipes. So with all that being said, the 2 recipes I'm going to highlight today with my nostalgic spins are going to be a coleslaw and sliders. Sliders meaning little slider handheld burgers. So first we're going to start off with the coleslaw. So let's go ahead and jump into that to start. And now I do find almost every barbecue or picnic I go to, there's going to be a coleslaw dish there. And when we think about coleslaw, it is traditionally made with a mayo-based dressing. Now, while certainly delicious and creamy, mayo does tend to be one of our higher saturated fat condiments. And saturated fat is a less nutritious type of fat we want to try and limit in our diets when we can to help promote heart health and really overall health. So if you're looking to kind of switch up your coleslaw, make it a little bit lighter, make it a little bit zestier, you could try out this slaw recipe I'll be sharing today, which doesn't use any mayo at all, and instead it's a tangy lime vinaigrette slaw. Also very simple to throw together, pretty easy to make that dressing, and then we'll mix in our cabbage slaw at the end. So let me go ahead and jump in and show you how to make this easy, simple lime vinaigrette. So the first thing we're going to want to start with here is some lime juice and some lime zest. So I'll pour all my ingredients to start here in a big old mixing bowl. And having this lime juice as the base, along with the zest, really does add in this nice bold and vibrant and zesty flavor. So it really does make for a great base for a vinaigrette. It can also be great to add to a marinade. Fresh citrus really does have that great overpowering flavor, which usually works well in most dishes. All right, the next thing we're going to add into our vinaigrette is olive oil. So we're going to be adding in some heart-healthy, unsaturated fats there with our olive oil. Next, I'm going to add in some garlic powder, adding a bit of that savory flavor to our vinaigrette. So go ahead and add that in there. And lastly, for a bit of sweetness, to kind of add that touch of sweetness, we want to balance it all out. Here I have some honey. So I'll just go ahead and pour my honey into this big old mixing bowl. And then once you have all of the ingredients for your simple lime vinaigrette in your large mixing bowl, we're going to go ahead and whisk that all together, either using a whisk. You could also just use a fork and just go ahead and give that a good stir so everything becomes well combined. And we're really mixing that all up together. All right, and so once we have our dressing ready to go, now it's time to add in the cabbage slaw. Now, for a bit of a time saver, I do love to pick up the already prepped slaw. So here I have the Dole classic coleslaw ready to go. It's already chopped, washed, bagged, so you don't have to worry about doing any of that when you're prepping this meal. And just lets you spend less time in the kitchen and more time outside, really enjoying the warm weather and whatever barbecue you're bringing this to. So I'll go ahead and take my time saver, I should say here. Go ahead and throw that in the big mixing bowl. I know in this mixture, it's just shredded carrots and green cabbage, but to add a little bit more flavor, I'm also going to add in some chopped green onions or scallions. So go ahead and add those in. And then you just want to give your slaw with your vinaigrette a good toss and really make sure you're grabbing underneath all that slaw and really pulling it together and mixing it up so we do get that dressing kind of well incorporated among all of the veggies that we have in here. And then I would suggest popping this in the fridge, letting it sit for a few hours, just so we can really allow all of those flavors to meld together and give the cabbage slaw some time to kind of sit in that marinade. But if you didn't have time and you were on your way out the door, you certainly could just serve this as is. The one thing I would suggest adding, though, before you go to serve it, is adding on some crispy tri-colored tortilla strips. Now, the reason why I love adding these is because you're certainly going to get a little bit of crunch from the cabbage and the carrots, but I do find that the tortilla strips add even that extra level of a nice crunch and a good mouthfeel. So I do love just tossing these right on the top of the slaw before you are about to serve it. If you let it sit in the mixture when it's in the fridge or for a little while, the tortilla strips will get a little bit soggy. So I would suggest tossing these right on the top before serving. Now, one thing I will note, when you are picking up these tri-colored tortilla strips, some brands may have artificial colors added to them to help give the tortilla strips all of those different colors. But this Fresh Gourmet brand tortilla strips I picked up actually uses beet juice and black carrot juice to give these tortilla strips their color. So I would suggest looking out for a brand like this that doesn't have those artificial flavors. Could be something to look for at the store for a bit of a better for you option. And so hopefully that just shows really how simple it is to throw together this coleslaw, just as simple as a traditional coleslaw. But again, you're getting kind of that nice tangy dressing coming through. It has the hint of sweetness from the honey. So it really is a delicious option that could kind of mix up your summer barbecue spread. You could also enjoy this just as you would plain old coleslaw, so you can eat it as is, or even throw it onto your burger as a nice crunchy burger topping. All right, so now that we've shown our nostalgic spin on coleslaw, we're going to move into our next nostalgic recipe, which is sliders. So again, those like little slider burgers. Now, burgers, I find for most folks, are going to become a staple part of their meal rotation during the summer months, right? If you have a grill at home, beautiful time to get outside and enjoy cooking in the outdoors. And so with that being said, I thought sliders could be a fun option to show versus just plain old burgers, because I really do like the fun handheld nature of a little slider burger. And I think they're especially great if you're planning a larger, backyard barbecue event, because the sliders, being smaller in nature, can help out with portion sizes or portion control. So if you have a lot of really great options on your barbecue spread, like the tangy slaw, maybe you have a macaroni or a pasta salad, some corn, some roasted veggies, and the sliders, folks can take a little bit of each different option. So they're really kind of tasting all of the options you have available to them without overdoing it on portion sizes. So that's just why I love those little handheld slider burgers. And the recipe I'll be sharing today, there are actually 2 Newstalgic better for you spins on them. So let me go with that first swap here, which is that instead of using like hamburger buns or little slider buns, we're actually going to use sweet potatoes. So we are going to make hamburger buns or little slider buns using sweet potatoes. So if you're looking for different ways that you could use up sweet potatoes rather than just baking or roasting, this could be a fun way to put them to use. Not to mention, by using sweet potatoes instead of just a plain old white hamburger bun, we're going to get more nutrients, right? So we're going to add a little bit more nutritional value to that barbecue meal, because sweet potatoes will give us some fiber, we'll get some vitamin A, we'll get some potassium. So really a lot of great reasons why sweet potatoes could be a fun addition here. Now, it's very simple to make these sweet potato buns. I'll quickly demo how you would do that. So I would say grab a sweet potato. It's nice to look for ones that are a bit thicker, so they're more of wider rounds, because what we're going to do is cut our sweet potato widthwise into like little medallions or little circles, and that will serve as our bun. So what you want to do, take your sweet potato, make sure that you have washed and scrubbed the outside, and then go ahead and just take a sharp knife. And again, we're going to cut widthwise. So we're going to cut this way to make those medallions or those rounds. And I would suggest cutting them about ½ an inch thick, just so that way we have enough width to work with when we're actually eating the burger. So I'll show you all what kind of those medallions look like. So I'll cut a few strips here. All right, and so when you cut the sweet potato like this, you can go ahead and cut it all the way down. I would suggest kind of choosing those middle circles, just since they are generally going to be the largest compared to like the ends of the sweet potato. So go for those larger sort of middle round ones. And then as you can see here, these are like perfect width to be little buns for your slider burgers. So what you want to do, take your sweet potato circles. I would suggest putting some olive oil in them. So tossing them in some olive oil, putting them on a baking tray, and then pop that in the oven for, I would say, about 25 minutes, turning halfway through until the sweet potatoes start to get a nice browning and crisping on the outside. And I'll show you all what those finished sweet potato slices look like. But hopefully that showed really just how simple and kind of fun it can be to get creative with vegetables in the kitchen and use them in new ways. So that was my first swap there, those sweet potato buns. And the next nostalgic, healthier spin on this recipe is that we are actually making a blended meat mixture. Now, for anyone that hasn't heard of a blended meat mixture before, it's kind of exactly what the name implies. It's a meat mixture that is blended with veggies. So this recipe actually does call for a ground chicken and grated zucchini mixture. Now, there are a few different reasons why this could be a fun swap to test out. First off, certainly if we're adding in veggies to our meat mixture, we're going to get more color, which means we're going to get vitamins and minerals, and we'll also get some fiber as well. Now, aside from just the nutrition component, this can also help cut back on food waste. If we have any veggies that are maybe in the fridge at the back of our produce drawer and maybe they're on their way out, so maybe your zucchini's a little wilted, or maybe you have mushrooms that are, kind of on their way out, you can easily dice them up or you can grate them and then just mix that right into your ground meat mixture. So that way you're actually putting that veggie to use. It doesn't need to make its way to the trash. And because we're blending it with the meat and then we're going to cook up the burgers, even if that produce item did have a little bit less than optimal texture, you really will not be able to tell in the finished product. So it's a great way to put to use some of those, again, wilting veggies. This can also be a great money-saving tip. Because if you think about it, if we're making burgers, sliders, or even meatballs or the filling for tacos, and we're adding some volume and some bulk to that meat mixture with our veggies, that in turn can help us stretch that meat further. So maybe we don't have to use the entire package of ground chicken or ground turkey for that certain recipe. Instead, we can save a little bit, use that later on in the week, and again, really help stretch that meat and save us a bit of money on our grocery bill. So all around, I think there are great reasons to make blended meat mixtures whenever you are cooking that type of recipe. And so again, this recipe today did call for zucchini. So just to show you all kind of what that looks like, essentially, just when you're making your ground meat mixture, go ahead and pop that ground chicken or turkey into a large mixing bowl. And then as you can see here, some of those green shreds there is just a zucchini, a small zucchini. I shredded, toss that in there, and then just mix everything together. And so I would suggest grabbing a small handful of this mixture. Go ahead and form your little slider patties, and then you could pop those out on the grill. You also could cook them inside on a stovetop as well. So either option works. And then when your little sweet potato rounds have dinged in the oven, when they're ready to come out and they're roasted, this is what your finished product will look like. So I'll come a little bit closer here so you can see this more. But so here we have our nice crispy sweet potato buns. We have our little slider burgers on the inside. And then you could dress these up however you like to dress up regular burgers. So you could add on some lettuce, tomato, onion, a condiment like guacamole. You could add in some heart-healthy fats and some nice savory flavors here to complement the sweetness of the sweet potato. But again, you could really kind of let your imagination run wild and go with any toppings that you'd like on your little slider burgers. So that brings us to the end of our short cooking demonstration for today. I want to thank you all so much again for joining in for the kickoff of our Serving Up Summer Series.